Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Tides podcast. In each episode, we invite guests to have honest conversations about their mental health journeys with the goal of destigmatizing mental health within the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Due to the nature of the podcast, we'll be discussing a variety of mental health topics and possibly triggering experiences. While we and the majority of our guests are not trained professionals, we encourage you to practice self-care while listening and seek professional guidance if you or a loved one is in need of support. With that said, let's start the episode.
I would describe my mental health. I think when I was thinking about this, I was having a really hard time because, I think now that I am older, it's definitely different. But when I think of it as a whole, I definitely see my mental health journey as an artist's paint palette. Yeah, so it's kind of like, those artists where it's a palette, they put their thumb in and they hold it right here. And they have a whole bunch of colors mixed in there, right? Depending on what kind of artist you are, there are like a lot of colors, and for some it's really organized, right? But that's kind of like how I see it.
Long time no see. Thank you for tuning into the Changing Tides podcast. I am your host, Matthew Yonemura. Where to begin? I think it's been over a year since we've put out an episode, and since I've recorded or interviewed, so it might be a little bit of a rusty interview when you listen to it, but thank you for tuning in. It's been a really busy couple of years for me personally and for LTSC and Changing Tides. For one, I moved. I don't know if anyone's watching the video of this, but I moved last year, moved in with my girlfriend, moved out of that family house. We already have adopted a dog after we foster failed. I've only run one marathon since the last time I recorded. Maybe it's been two. I don't remember. But that's been going on. We have a new program at LTSC that's under my umbrella called Okaidi, which I hope people are already familiar with. It's our Nikkei LGBTQ plus community who became a program at LTSC in July of 2025. And, it's been a great process to learn about that new program that we have and to get to know the team that we have at Okaidi. We did lose the founder of Okaidi, Marsha Izumi, at the end of 2025, and it's just been a long couple of years, a busy couple of years, but we're happy to come back and record these episodes. I think it's probably going to be on maybe a monthly basis where we are able to put out an episode. So keep your eye out. We're definitely going to continue to record and continue to put episodes out, but it might be one episode a month instead of two. But I'm really happy to launch this new season of the podcast with my first guest. Our guest today, I met briefly when I first met her at a convening for one of the grants that we have at LTSC. She's a fellow her program is a fellow grantee, and it was just really cool to hear about the Hmong community in Butte County, to learn about Butte County itself, and to hear about the Hmong Cultural Center, which is sitting on like an acre of land, which is so crazy. But I'm excited to kick off the season with this newest episode, and without further ado, here's the interview I did with today's guest, Passion. So, Passion, thank you so much for doing this. This is the first podcast I've recorded in like a year. So thank you for being my welcome back guest. And I'm sorry for any rust that I need to shake off while doing this. But I loved hearing this paint palette description that you had. And I was wondering if you could just kind of expand on that.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm rusty too. I actually used to do a podcast with friends back in college, so for sure, I would say like we're kind of like a blank canvas, right? And I think that that's kind of how we all start our day. And throughout the whole day, we are painting ourselves with the different, I guess you could say obstacles that we face. So as of right now, I would say that, because we are this blank canvas and we paint all these things, I think a lot of it is too, it's not just the emotions that the colors represent, but I think how we think about ourselves and how we also see the world. Because I think people forget that mental health is not just emotions, right? It's kind of like our identity and who we are and what makes up who we are, right? Um, Most definitely our trauma is not defined by who we are, but for sure, I think that our traumas do shape us a little bit of kind
Mm,
of like who we become, and it's our choice to what we do with it. And I think the biggest thing that I like about it is sometimes we try to mix a color in our palette, and I think that's where that really signifies we try to do something different.
mm,
Maybe today I'm going to try to see if this shirt matches me. Or maybe I'm going to cut my hair. I don't know if this matches me. And sometimes when we mix this color, it's maybe not the best, right? And so we added something either lighter or a darker shade, right? Personally, to me, I don't think that there's no such thing as an ugly color standing on its own. But when you add texture to it, either that's going to be on like a nylon fabric, or it's going to be on a knitted t-shirt. When you add texture to it, you start to realize that, okay, does this color match? Right. And because I think color on its own is beautiful. But when you start adding things to it and shaping it, then that's where we become more judgmental on our own. Um, I think it really depends on how you want to resemble. What does the texture mean, passion, when you add it to color? I don't know. I think that's up to you. But personally, to me, I think the texture comes with your point of view. Right. So it's like, because when things happen in our lives, it's up to you if you want to look at it negatively or positively. And I think to me, now that I'm 28 years old, oh God, I feel old. I definitely look back. Because now that I'm old enough to look back, oh, when I was in early 20s or when I was a teenager, right? Like, oh my God, how I felt like to be 16.
mm-hmm.
Um, I definitely look back and be like, I don't think that color was that ugly, and depending on the situation, right? And I think that now that I appreciate life more, I was told when you hit close to 30, you start to appreciate life more. And I do, I really do. And I think it's so crazy that I am where I am today because I look at youth now and I look at me and I think when they look at me, they're like, oh, Pastor's got everything. She lives on her own. She's engaged. She has two dogs. I'm like, oh, life could be better.
Right.
But yeah, it does make you count your blessings. And so like what I do is I look back and I count all the colors and all of the shades I've created and look at it as, these are actually pretty nice colors that I invented, which is the person I invented today. Which is, no one's perfect, but I think we still have a lot of time in our lifetime to really build the kind of person we want to become.
Hmm. I love that. And it's just funny because I'm 27 and I don't get that reaction from the youth. My reaction is, oh, I thought you were older. Like everyone, I was at an event over the weekend. There was a young 10-year-old boy, and he was asking all of the youth or the young adults that I work with. And there was a 27-year-old with me. He guessed she was 21. He guessed I was 40. So that was,
Oh my gosh.
it's humbling working with the youth. But, I like this canvas and this paint idea. I think just to kind of stick with that, like, when would you say your mental health journey began? Like, when was your canvas blank and you started making these colors? What kind of made you aware of this mental health journey?
Oh man. I would have to say that it definitely wasn't like right off the bat for sure. I think um quarantine had a huge part of it too. Like when COVID happened, it definitely helped for sure. Unfortunately, COVID was not beneficial for others, but I would say for me, I definitely learned a lot from that time. When I was in high school, for sure, I think I knew like breathing techniques. How to stay present, when you name like your five senses, right? The three things within the five senses, learned that a lot from health class and stuff.
Mm,
But I will have to say that one of the biggest things was I think finally going through an identity crisis in college. I think I was really like, am I choosing this career based off of me?
Mm,
Because and, coming from an Asian household, right, you get told to go through all of these careers, a lot of it in STEM. And I think I was going into teaching to be a teacher. And then, yeah, at that time, I was still very part of my passion for dance. I did a lot of hip hop dancing growing up and a lot of culture dancing. And I think, that's to my parents, that was like a very unstable career, right? Because that comes down to, yes, going into the bigger cities, getting booked and all that stuff, that my parents have no idea how that works.
mm,
And I think with that, that's why I stuck it through. And I think, I just graduated just because, I've gone this far, why not? Graduated in 2020 at Butte College. And then I think that's when, I took a semester break because I was going to transfer to Chico State. And then, boom, quarantine happened. And then that's where I was like, okay, like everything's on pause,
mm,
right? Didn't have a job, didn't go back to school. And so then that was like the perfect time to like, okay, like what does passion look like? Or what does passion want to look like in 5 to 10 years? And because I was also single at the time, it was a perfect moment to just rebuild who I was.
mm,
And definitely spent a lot of time with family. I definitely was not connected with any of my old friends anymore, just because like I was so stuck in college. I was into college. I was so stuck about like new trends. I was so stuck with what society wanted you to look like, or act like, or socially, how does your friends view you? And I think that when quarantine, I got to rebuild who that was. And I knew that in that time, I wasn't taking care of my mental health because I was ignoring it because of school. I was working part time, being in school full time, and you kind of just push things to the side,
mm.
right? And then you do these quick things to just kind of, I guess, have your head above water, which is like, oh, just going to go out with friends as, therapy, or venting and stuff. But I never actually did shadow work. I didn't do shadow work until quarantine, and that was the hardest moment in my life because I had to face my problems by myself.
Mm,
And a lot of that was looking at the mirror, which was realizing that we have to accept our imperfections and also to accepting who you are. And also just remember that your flaws do not identify, like basically identify you. And that was a really hard thing. And realizing too that a lot of your problems was because of you, like yourself.
mm,
And because like you were either angry at yourself or you were disappointed at how you looked or how you acted because you didn't look like this person. A lot of like resentment towards self. And I think when I got through that, I actually joined an advocacy group, which was part of the Mokoji Center actually, and we were granted by Cayenne, and so that allowed us to actually figure out what campaign we wanted. And I came around with identity, and that was that I feel like I wasn't Hmong enough or American enough,
yeah.
and that's where I found out that's where my mental health stemmed from. I just feel like I just didn't fit in. And then, of course, all the other things. But now that going to where I am now, I've actually sought some counseling. And also I went to like one therapy session that was provided from the school. And then I did counseling that was provided from a training at work. And then, of course, my supervisors here are amazing mentors as well. So I got to talk to them about that. So because I do a lot of check-ins and getting reassured that, with how life works, we're not all on the same path. It's been really nice to kind of know that mental health is an overall experience,
Mm,
and that we're not battling things by myself. It's also very healing to sit down with people who also went through what you went through, just knowing that you're not crazy. And then for sure, I think now that me and my siblings, and also have a better relationship with my mom now that we're older, we can openly talk about mental health. And I love that because I
mm,
think when we were younger, I was a rebellious teenager, didn't know how to talk to my parents. Now that I'm older, I understand where my parents went through, raising all five of us. And then also to my sister and I, we have a better relationship because we're older and wiser. We talk to each other and check in. And I think having your community, finding your tribe is a big part of it.
Hmm.
And definitely professional help is great because you get to see someone from a third party looking in, because sometimes your friends can be a lot of like yes men, where they want to support you, which is great. They're all your team, your cheerleader. But when you have a professional therapist who actually is on no one's team and is actually trying to do the real work, that's really nice to kind of get their point of view as well.
I mean, you're a great guest because you keep leading me to my next question. But you mentioned you're so much about identity, and it's kind of wrapped up in the work that you do now. And you also mentioned maybe not feeling Hmong enough or not American enough. But like, what do you love about your community?
Um, Man, there's a lot. I would have to say, despite all of the superficial stuff, like the food and the music, and like just the clothes, is so rich. And but to really dive deep, the one thing that I love about our people is that they're so resilient. Last year, we just celebrated our 50 years of being here in America. And I think that was so shocking to me. 1975 is not that long ago.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it is. It's so crazy to me. And we celebrate 50 years. And I think I was just more in shock with just how much we still had our elders who freshly immigrated here. And we still had a lot of first generation still existing, while simultaneously having fourth and fifth generations being born, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And which is, I think that to me just shows just how resilient our people are. And to go further on to say that I think a lot of it is that now I'm glad that I am alive this long to witness that we've have a lot of evolutions to happen. Seeing that we have people who are superintendents, like the first woman for to be a superintendent, and also just being someone who's the first Hmong woman to be a mayor. Like those things are super awesome because like that goes to tell you that our people are so inspired from what brought them here and what brought them, I guess you could say, the trauma too. And we took something from ashes to diamonds, I guess you could say. And so I'm glad that even if we went through that, it's not going to stop us
Hmm.
to what we want to achieve.
And I like a lot of cultures, a lot of backgrounds. You could look at someone in the media or an actor or a celebrity. Like, you know, I remember even like this isn't the ideal representation now, but even like the movie like The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. I remember like at the time I was like, whoa, they're putting on Japanese culture in American film. But like for the Hmong community, you're pointing to superintendents, to mayors, which is awesome. How do you think you've tackled the Asian American experience in that identity, coming from the Hmong community that doesn't really have the media representation that some other cultures do?
I think I feel like I can't speak of it that now because now our people's out there.
Mm.
But definitely back when I was younger, oh, for sure. When I was younger, it was really hard. There was the only people I can look up to were just the other Asian actors who weren't Hmong,
Mm.
and that was good enough for me, to see that. I mean, none of them had leading roles and such, but just seeing them being featured, like you said, like The Last Samurai, amazing way how to portray the Japanese culture a little bit, right? I think another one, I grew up with Disney Channel.
Hmm.
So I definitely love that the first actually Hmong woman who made a movie that wasn't about Hmong, they put it as a Chinese character,
Oh.
was Wendy Wu.
Oh.
Yeah, so Brenda's song is Hmong.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
Yeah, and because the last name Song could be Korean as well. And so, but no, she's Hmong. And I love that she did this, these like, like these commercial breaks where she talks about the food.
Hmm.
And she said noodles, and which is meat. And when she said, I was like, oh my gosh, she's Hmong. And with at that time where we didn't really have a lot of access to like the web, right? I didn't really look her up. I didn't say, oh, what is Brenda Song's ethnicity? Like,
Right.
like there wasn't anything like that. I just knew where I was like, she's gotta be Hmong because that's how you say noodles are Hmong. And I think that was when I appreciate watching Wendy Wu because I was like, that's our Hmong girl, she's out there and she's doing something. And I think later on, just again, like the evolution, right, is seeing that more and more of us are out there. I started to see one of our Hmong actors who played the live action of Mulan.
Hmm.
I think he played Poe, but the bigger guy, he's Hmong. And I
Oh,
think his Duo Tao, I think I forgot, but um, finding out that he was Hmong and he got to be a part of a huge film was even more amazing. Again, it wasn't even about Hmong people, but it's about, Asian people. And I think I was just so proud of that. Um, Another one would be, okay, this one was a huge shocker because it had Hmong culture in it, was Gran Torino. And
oh, right.
yes, so for that one, that was a huge shocker for us. We were like, wow, especially with Clint Eastwood, like he's like this famous actor, right? And because it really showed a lot of our culture, like you see the scenes where he comes in when they're doing their ritual parties, and you see the actors they speak in Hmong, like that to us was like, oh my gosh, like we've made it. Even though it wasn't such a huge film, we're just glad that we had our culture out there. And to see that more and more of our people are doing more things, like becoming actors, or like I mentioned, like being superintendents. I mean, hopefully a president. But with that being said, yeah, I think I can't really say now that we were not being represented, but back then for sure, I think just anything small made me happy to even see any Asian people to be on there, because again, that was the closest I could relate to. But I also another thing too, I would say that we do have very similar Asian American experiences, like the what is it, the model minority, making it seem like we are the example, and which is really sad because then again it's like we have a lot of this pressure that we're supposed to act this way, and also these expectations that we're supposed to go into STEM careers, or we're supposed to be good in math, and that we're supposed to be quiet and passive. And I think that was very hard for identity as well for me because I definitely wasn't the quietest kid in class. I'm an extrovert. And I think that because I was really into arts, I didn't follow through that path as well. So because I feel like I am the living experience of being different, that is the reason why, I have continue to advocate for youth because I understand where that comes from. And I do have to definitely say that growing up, the healing was a lot better because I got to see the evolutions of how our people are starting to be more represented. And I start to search for it. I think a lot of times when you're not involved, you definitely don't know like what's going on. But for sure, like if you're in the know and in the community, you'll start to see it more.
Mm. Thank you for letting me know about the different ways the Hmong community is represented, because I kind of completely forgot that Gran Torino is about the Hmong community. And for people who haven't seen it, it's a hard watch. It's a very brutal movie, but like it's so interesting to have such like a powerful takeaway after such a hard movie to watch, Like the balance of the two is interesting. Um so the other piece that I'm probably gonna say this in the intro that I record, but we met through being grantees under the same California Department of Public Health Children Youth Behavioral Health Institute, right?
Yes, it's very long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're under the same grant, and I don't know geography, but like it was cool because we're all grantees from California, and like you've painted such a cool picture of Butte County that like I can't, like I've never been to, and like the grounds that your center is on. But like, could you paint a picture for us of like Butte County? You've been there your whole life. Like, how's it been for you?
Oh man. Um, to be honest, I keep going back and forth because I'm telling you, a lot has changed for
Mm.
sure. Like I would say right now, if you guys do come and visit, there's a lot of ag. So there's a lot of open fields with orchards, or just open fields in general, and a lot of trees. Depending on which city you visit in Butte County, because we're not the only ones. I'm from Orville. There's definitely other smaller cities. The most popular one is Chico, which is a college town, and so there's definitely a lot more to do there. You have their heart, which is their downtown, which is literally right next to the college. Very lively, and they have all of like the things that you need, like the Costco, the mall. They have all your food chains. I think just recently they just put Raising Cane's there, so everyone's going crazy about that. Yes, and coming to Orville, we are slowly building. I think we just had a Mavericks gas station, which is like really huge, popular gas station where a lot of trucks they go through. A lot of definitely semis stop in Orville
Mm.
before they go up more north, which is towards Reading, maybe Shasta, Humboldt, right? So we are like the before they come here and get the pit stop, and then they head all the way out there,
Mm.
which is a pretty long drive. And so that's why they created Maverick right there on the freeway, which is really nice. And I think we just recently, like just a couple of years ago, we had a super Walmart, and so that's been really great. But I think if you're here for nature, we have it all, I would
Mm.
say. Which it's funny because going to school, I met a lot of SoCal students that moved to Chico State,
Mm.
and I'm like, why? And they're just like, oh, it was just we wanted to have a slower life, like
Mm.
because it was just so like hustle and bustle where they're at. And I'm like, oh, I can't relate. It's so slow here.
Yeah.
But they want to be around nature, and I think that's great because we can provide both. And I think that's what I love about NorCal and SoCal, California in general. You can have all the four seasons,
Hmm.
and a lot of places can't say that. And so I really like how we have the biggest dam of California, in the heart of Orville, and a lot of tourists go there and see it, and they're so amazed at that. It's a man-made. Fun fact: the history is that Orville actually started in the canal of where the dam was. So if you look at all the water, there used to be a small Orville town inside of it,
Oh wow.
and it was just like a river that went through. And so, but then because they made it to to a dam, all the people moved out, and then it kept filling with water, right? Our fresh waters are all branched up from like the snow, that are in the mountains, all from different streams coming to the dam. And so that fresh water is very important to the environment, actually, because that streams uh, to the river bends to Sacramento River, which flows into the ocean.
Hmm.
For some people who don't know geography, we were forced to learn this, by the way, because it's our hometown. But we also have a fish hatchery that it's super important for the environment as well. I'm not so sure which species we have for salmon, but we are the most important thing into their lives. So when they go to the ocean, they come to us and we incubate their eggs. And after they're big enough, we let them go and they go to the ocean. And the cycle continues. And we're a huge part of that food chain.
Hmm.
And so that's one of the biggest things that I love about Orville. There's a lot of history. And because of what we have here to protect the environment specifically, really, really will affect the world. I know that when we had a drought up here, a lot of SoCal cities were actually really dependent on our fresh water. And so when we were in a drought, like none of those people had water either, especially in like Death Valley. They really needed
Hmm.
that fresh water. So, to say that we're the biggest importance of the environment really makes my heart really warm, and know that we are very important as many as others, because I know for sure we definitely would not make it and get our fruits and vegetables from anywhere too, as well as like Florida or even SoCal. I know we definitely get shipments from there. But to say that we play an important role is really awesome.
I know you said you were forced to learn this stuff, but it sounds like you ride for your hometown.
Yes, I have to.
So I love to hear the history of it, and like I know Peter and I, we've been trying to fight for like a CDPH funded trip to come visit you guys in Butte County and also the cultural center. But could you tell us a little bit about the cultural center where you work?
Yes, so the Hmong Culture Center is just a culture center that's in Orville. I know a lot of people were asking if we have any other sister branches like in other cities in Butte County, but unfortunately, with our capacity, it's just so impossible. So we are only in Orville. We do have some participants and clients from Chico because Chico's only about 20-30 minutes out, and so then we're able to make that drive to kind of help them in assistance, whatever they need. And also some in I would say I think we also help with like Glenn County as well. But with that being said, because we are the only one, we do kind of reach out and branch out just a little bit. We just don't have other facilities. We hold a elders program, we hold a youth program, and we hold a family program. The family program is from like 5 to 50, so anyone that's in between, you can be a part of it. And our elders program, you have to be 50 years and older. And then in the youth program, you just have to be the ages between sixth grade, I would say, all the way up to like 25 years old.
Hmm.
So I know a lot of people are like, what, you guys still accept them even if they're over 21? I'm like, yes, we do, because there's still the transitional age. They're still learning how to be an adult, right? And so with that being said, all of that happens simultaneously at the Mokochu Center. I think we have a staff of 20. I don't have the number at the top of my head,
Oh
but
wow.
yeah, and this is actually the largest staff we ever had, because I think with, gratefully with CYBGI, like they definitely helped a lot. And then all of the other grants that the other programs are in, it really definitely like lifted us and provide more jobs. As a culture center, we do a lot of translation. We do a lot of transportation as well, because we're in a small town. A lot of things are all driving distance.
Hmm.
And we definitely do a lot of prevention programs. So our elders program, it's mainly for elders who feel lonely and they just want to get out of their house. And they come to our center to do more social gatherings. And it's good for them to move around too physically. And then for our youth, it's very mental health based and education. So with that being said, we simultaneously do all those things. I think we do have a like an annual event where we all come together and people kind of see all of the things that we've done the whole year. So it's really nice because because we're in a small town, everyone's family.
Hmm.
So it's like, oh, like your grandma and grandpa might be in the elders program. My grandma's actually is in the elders program, and she loves it because they take them on field trips, they go for walks. And then they do a lot of fun activities too. Like inside, they teach them to do how to do the American alphabet, or we teach them about American holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we just tell them it's just a way to celebrate family, to
Hmm.
bring people together, and they love that because Hmong people are all about family. Other than that, yeah, we just do a lot of support in our community, making sure that we can still stay strong together. I know that a lot of people would say that our Hmong community can be very divided, and I think that comes down to just the trauma of just immigrating here, and a lot of things that come with that is losing your family. We hear a lot of stories of people they had to be adopted because when they were getting on the airplanes to put them in different places, right, to displace them, a lot of them couldn't stay together.
Hmm.
And so, which is really cool because from what I've learned from here at the Mocha Center is that I've learned a lot from where they place Hmong people at. We have some in Argentina, we have some in Australia, Canada. we still have Hmong people in China still. And it's really cool because we all have different names for all of those groups of Hmong people.
Oh
But we
wow.
have one thing in common is that we all speak Hmong, just with a
Mm.
little bit of an accent. But it's really awesome that we just recently found out last year, and we saw it over Facebook, that they had a Hmong New Year in Korea.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and there was so many like people that attended that were Hmong Korean, and that to us like thank you to the social media to put us into this this demographic. But it was really nice to see that wow, we're everywhere,
Mm.
and so that's what I really appreciate that the Hmong Culture Center does, is that we're always trying to keep tabs on where our people are at, and how can we continue to support not just Butte County but also other people as well.
Mm. You know, I'm amazed that you do all the work that you do with a staff of 20 and that this is the most staff you guys have had because you do so much work. Along with staffing, I'm just curious, like, what are some of the challenges you all face at the Hmong Cultural Center?
Understaffed for sure. Definitely feeling like we want to do more, but we can't because of the
Mm,
capacity. And the thing is, I think every organization can understand that. It doesn't matter how much money or how many people you hire, you will always still feel shorthanded, because everyone needs help.
hmm.
And the biggest thing for sure, for me and my team in the youth program, is that we've noticed that change is really hard for our community as well. We're talking about people who've been displaced, and for a lot of our history, actually, even our ancestors were kicked out of China, had to move to Laos, and then again, we had to go to Thailand and then come to America. It's like we never have a place to stay, to be stable. And I think they're just tired of that. And they just want to settle. And I think to also remember too that um, I think that when it comes to that too, we're worried we have to move again. And
Mm,
on top of that, they want to hold on to their culture so bad, like their traditions, their religions, that when we give them a new idea, they're like, "Oh, but that go against everything that we just did, like that were hundreds of years ago." But then they don't understand that with time there has to be evolution,
yeah.
because we don't we're in a new home, we're in America now, and so how can we implement that, hand to hand, right? How can we be parallel together? But a lot of times they're just it's out of fear. They're just afraid that, well, if we do the new way, then we lose touch of this. And I'm glad that when I took a lot of like what is it, the Asian studies, I did also the Latinx community studies. They have the same experiences as well. Definitely, I've learned that with my fiance who's Filipino. I mean, he always tells me we've been colonized by everybody,
Mm,
and we joke about that. And he just goes, "You should be lucky that you weren't colonized." He goes like, "You got to still hold on to, what makes you you." And because to him, it's like he doesn't know the difference between what was authentically Filipino
mm,
culture versus the Spaniards when they came and colonized, because it's so like it's been hundreds and hundreds of years.
right.
And I think that's something that, from what I've learned from, is that our people are just afraid of that. They're just afraid to lose that. And but when it comes to like the preventions, like because we live in America now, and we live with Western like medicine and stuff, we have to tell them those things. It's like, okay, especially our elders, like these herbs and stuff can only help you so much, but you have to get X-rayed. You got to make
Right.
sure that it's checked, right? And with our youth especially, it's a lot of it is our parents are so afraid when we talk about family planning, or when we talk about birth control and condoms. They're like, "Are you trying to promote our kids to like make babies?" And we're like, "No, like we have to understand these preventions happen because of." Again, early 2090s, there was a lot of teen pregnancy because
Mm,
that wasn't promoted. And so then we educate them. We had to hold their hand a lot. And that's okay, because I think that if I am old and grumpy in like 20 years from now, I think I would be afraid too,
right.
understanding how to work these electric cars.
I know.
So, I think it's to try to be open-minded. And that's what we're trying to do. It's a battle, but I think it's rewarding when they start to see that when one person does it, they start to follow.
Mm,
It's kind of like how it is socially. It's like when they see a couple of people do it, they're like, okay, it's safe, and that's okay. I think that we're moving there. I can't say we're not moving, but we are. It's
mm,
just baby steps.
yeah. You mentioned, some of the younger adult, the youth that you work with, which is like the focus of the grant that we're both a part of. What's it like for among young adults to grow up and be raised in Butte County, where there is a lot of community, and I'm wondering also if you've run into folks within the Hmong community who aren't from Butte County, where they might not have this much support or with this much community.
For sure. I think, for being a small town, we have a lot of people that move into our town. And, a lot of people move for many different reasons. That's either to find support, cheaper housing, jobs, or just starting over, right? And one of the things that I've learned from these kids who we have actually had enrolled in our program before, they come from bigger cities like Minnesota,
Hmm.
or they come from Sacramento, and they come to a smaller town. It's very daunting to them for sure, because they're just like, you're telling me there's nothing to do, right? After I get out of school, I'm forced to just stay home and do nothing. Because I guess to them, they're so used to having somewhere to go after. Like they either go to the mall, or they're going to like another youth program, that's very well funded and has everything for them to do. But when they come here, there's not a lot of that, right? And so when I think about our program, we're like that for them, which is a place to not be home at, a third space, I should
Mm,
say. Because I think a lot of these bigger cities have so many of those third spaces that when they finally get here, there's not a lot. And I would have to say that with our youth who are, born and raised here, I love that social media has definitely inspired them to leave here.
mm,
For me, I would say like when I was a teenager, I wanted to get out of here so bad. Like I wanted to go to UCLA. I wanted to go to stay in San Francisco, just away from a small town, with how close-minded it was. But I think it's definitely different now because we get younger parents, right? Through generations, we get younger parents who are more educated, and then we have these new wave of kids. They inspire them to actually to leave here. They inspire
hmm
them to be like, hey, like go out there, go to school far, and then bring that back here to help us and teach us, so that our people in the small town can also grow as well. And I thought that was really great because that's kind of something that we use for our kids in our program. It's like, heck yeah, like go out there, go to a different college, and then don't forget like what you learn and stuff, like to reteach it to your community because what you hold and the education that you learn is so rich. Show us what that looks like because we're not out there, right?
mm,
And I think I would have to say though, because Orville is like becoming evolved, a lot of kids, there are some populations where they want to stay. Because they feel like they have a purpose. And I think something like me, I ended up staying, not by choice, but I think it became beautiful at the end. That I'm glad that my purpose was to be the example, to show these kids that hey, if you don't leave here, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you stay here, make it count. Do
mm,
something, you know? And here's the thing, like some people want more simpler lives and some people want something more bigger for dreams. And I think that's something that we try to support is support all dreams and to remember that, we do not belittle any dreams or whatnot, because I think that what it was back then for me. Oh, you're gonna stay here? Like, why would you want to do that? You should leave, like, and go explore. Oh, you're probably just too scared.
mm.
But I think that now, because we're a little bit more aware, we definitely support all of our kids and what choices that they make. But we definitely want to push them to be like, hey, yeah, like, do things that make you uncomfortable, because that's only how you're gonna grow as a person.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Where does that come from? I guess the idea of that was maybe when we're around the same age. So like when we were younger, like the idea that you should stay in Orville. Like where does that come from?
I think it comes from you're leaving your family.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that depending on The family itself, though, like I'd say, like, if at least for ours, well, I would say we're like a smaller Hmong family. Hmong families are like 10 to
Oh
12 kids.
wow.
Yeah. But for mine, it was just, there's actually four, but now there's five of us because my mom had my brother like many eons later.
Okay.
But he could be my child. He is like 9 years old,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and yeah, my mom is super young, teen pregnancy and all. But
Uh,
she definitely, I think, when it was just the four of us, we're a lot smaller Hmong family compared to others. Some people like at least have like 8 kids, and then the most is like 12.
mm,
And so because we're a much smaller Hmong family, being the oldest daughter and the oldest as well, paving that path and leaving, I had that guilt that I wanted to stay and help my mom. I wanted, who's gonna take care of her? Or, even though she was more than capable of taking care of herself, we think about when they get older. And I think I think it's also fear though. I think internally I was afraid to leave, and I made these excuses like who's gonna take care of my mom or who is gonna take care of my siblings. Um, but then I think it's kind of like what they say, like the American dream is to be a little selfish and chase your dreams, right? And I think that I was torn between the two.
mm,
I wanted to live out my dream, and but then I also want to be there for my family. And I have a lot of family that's here, and I feel like if I went away, I was gonna miss out. I had FOMO, and I felt like I was gonna miss out all the small barbecue hangouts, and I was gonna miss out all of the babies growing up, and then I think that's what I was afraid of. And also not knowing what was out there because we didn't have social media like the rest of the kids did. I only saw the world through magazines and like maybe like on TV when,
hmm
I watched like shows. But other than that, that's all that I knew. And so I think that's why I stayed. And then a lot of people were just looking at that like, oh, like, why would you want to do that? But I think I finally gained the courage when I was definitely like when I was like 23, 24, frontal lobe fully developed, and just being like, okay, we got to do something because I felt stuck. And I think that's where it wasn't just moving out of town per se, but moving out of my mom's house was the first step, which is like, okay, you got to be independent, make your own life. How do you want to enjoy life if it's not moving hundreds of miles away? But what if just a mile away from mom's house and figuring out, what that looks like to you? And I have to say that if I didn't find love though, if I didn't find my partner, I think I would have had moved. And but then
mm,
because we found each other and he came and move here with me, we definitely made it work. And I think that a lot of it is people move for different reasons. I think my reason to move was because I was bored. And so a lot of times we tell these kids too, do you want to move because you want to have a different education or a different career base? Or are you moving because you're running away from something? We definitely do a reality check with them because, again, we all know at the end of the day that when you're running away, things creep up. They come back up anyways, unless you deal with it. So I think a lot of times the reasons why we stay is because of family
mm.
and also being afraid what's actually out there. And a lot of people move for also because either they want to escape for something or they really, really don't have a career here that our small town offers, which is a lot
Mm.
of art stuff. We don't have that here.
Um, I wonder what's it like for you to like work with this new generation. I mentioned earlier for me it makes me feel very old. But like what's it like to see these kids grow up and to work with them, not only to watch it as like family, but it's part of your work now too. So I'm just curious what that's like for you.
Physically, I do feel old. Oh my God, knees cracking and lower back hurting. I cannot roll with these kids anymore. And I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta be in bed at 9. And I'm like, and like it's for sure. I think it is draining physically, but soulfully though, like I feel young with them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's great because we can joke around. We can be a little more lighthearted about life, you know? For sure. And I think that when you're an adult, you take things so seriously. And but when you're with them, it's like they live in such in the present time that you are forced to be there with them, and it's great to remind myself that like you can still have a young soul,
Mm-hmm.
but still have adult responsibilities. And to be honest, it has the pros and cons. I think I would say I would prefer working with teenagers than I do with little kids, only because communication is a lot better, big time. I would say that we can actually sit down and have a complex conversation of like why they make the choices they do and why do they think and they feel the way they do. Whereas for kids, it's like they cry and you're like, I don't know what you want. But for them, they're good communicators. You just have to listen to them. And I think um, I am very grateful to have this experience. And like I mentioned before, fortunately, with this grant being over, finding something to stable it is very like difficult. And these kids, they because we mentioned to them, hey, we will be graduating out of this program, and so then what do we want to do? And they're like, this is going to be over, and they feel really sad. It's really
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking, but
Mm-hmm.
I just know I did my job. That if they know that this they want to keep this, I know that I made it worth their while. And I would say teenagers, they're hard. They definitely are. They're very hard, but then the rewards are so big. I would have to say they love hard. They have big emotions, big
Mm-hmm.
time. And I think a lot of it is a lot of overreacting, a lot of overthinking. But when I look back, I'm like, I was that too one time,
Right.
you know. And I always try to be kinder to
Mm.
that, to my younger self, so that when I see them, I could be a bit more patient and realize that we all had to go through this. It's a lot of reflection for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm always kind of amazed at how emotionally intelligent the kids are now because we do a workshop with one of our like other organizations in Little Tokyo, and Dina and I we go in and we do like an hour long workshop over their summer programming. And like, first of all, I can only like that hour is tough for me. So like the fact that you're surrounded by it all the time with the younger kids is impressive. But this age range is like 6 to 13 years old. And, we always do like a debrief at the end, and you hear kids talk about how like communication and how letting everyone get a chance to speak, or it's easier to listen when people aren't raising their voices, or um, their communication styles and how it's different from person to person. Like it's kind of amazing what they're able to retain and what they're able to showcase at such an early age. So, but I say all this to say kudos to you for the hard work of working with the. What's the main age range that you work with?
So we have them all together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I would say, so the majority of our demographics though right now is middle schoolers. So
Mm.
we have a lot of sixth and eighth. But I have like three college students. So we also work with our youth leaders too, because they're also youth. We have one, two, three, four, no, five youth leaders who are freshmen in college.
Mm.
And they've actually been in our program for like 3, 4 years. So they're like the OGs of the program. But the current kids right now, like the newer kids, they're all in middle school. We have a lot of seventh graders because they graduated from like so they were in our program since sixth grade, so then they moved up, and so that's why we have a lot more seventh graders. We do have a lot of parents who have sixth grade kids who are more interested of bringing them in. It's kind of like they like to expose them more to teenager, more like mature
Mm.
and activities. And then we don't have a lot of high schoolers. We did start a program with a lot of high schoolers, but we can't fix these problems. But they don't like it when we mix the high school and
Yeah.
middle schools together. But like there were only one program, so we didn't know how we are gonna divide that. But honestly, I think no matter what, though, we teach the same things.
Hmm.
If anything, our middle schoolers are more active because these are so new to them. Whereas our high schoolers, we try to make it where it was very volunteer based. So, like, they can help us create the activities, or they can try helping us do lesson plans or assist us in anything. And this is good for them because they build resumes.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we have a lot of our older kids just kind of being the assistants, and then our younger kids are the more of the participants. But overall, everyone, we all teach them the same things, which is like leadership, a lot of like work skills and life skills. But other than that, we have them all mixed, and I really like how we do that because it creates a more diverse, and yet it allows them to face that in reality when they go into the workspace. We're all different ages, so they have to learn how to interact with each other differently.
Mm. So I've loved chatting with you, and we are coming up towards the end of this, but thank you for sharing, and I'm looking forward to the next time we are convening. Is that 2 months from now? In
In
May?
May,
Yeah,
yes,
so we'll see you in May in Sacramento, but I have a couple of quick fun questions for you, but is there anything you wanted to say before I get to the quick fire round of questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me here. Oh my God, I was so nervous. And but I was so excited at the same time because like I mentioned, like I've done podcasts before, but it was more on like more trendy topics and stuff. And
Mm.
so definitely having the chance to talk about my experience is always so great to share. Again, I don't speak for all of the Hmong people in Oroville, but I do have to say that, this is just my experience. And thank you so much for hosting this.
No, of course, and I love to have your perspective, and everyone's experience is going to be different. So I just enjoyed hearing from you.
Thank
Um,
you.
but I just have a few quick questions. So if you're ready, I'm just gonna jump in.
Okay.
Okay. So if you could invite three people to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're gonna invite three people to dinner, dead or alive. Okay. I would invite this is so funny. I would invite Michael Jackson and have him talk to me about the Epstein files. I also would invite I love conspiracy theories. I would also invite Michelle Obama.
Hmm.
She's alive. I've been listening to her podcast that she has with her brother, so it's really great, and she has amazing guests that she brings
Hmm.
on. Um, and then, um, hmm, oh man, third person. I think I would Princess Diana.
Hmm.
She's passed. I of course I want to know what happened, but because I'm like, girl, they did you wrong. But but I think for sure I would love to see her point of view of life. She was so free, and fortunately, without the pressure of being the royal family, I would love to sit down with her and see, like how she views the world and what we should do differently. But
Hmm.
yeah, so Michael Jackson, Michelle Obama, and Princess Diana.
Very fun.
Yeah.
A lot of behind the scenes knowledge you could get with that dinner, I'm sure.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, it's gotta be top secret.
after a long day of working with the kids and just life in general, how do you like to decompress?
Oh, I have healthy and unhealthy ways. I think the unhealthy way is I've just been laying in bed binge watching TV. I'm like, okay, I need to just shut my brain off. I need to turn off my phone. And I just need snacks, my bed, and the TV. And just recently, I've been doing that. We've been definitely binge watching One Piece. I don't know.
Oh.
Yes, the new live action. And then I binge watched some old TV shows too that I've never seen before, but was a little too young to watch. And so I did a lot of like Criminal Minds because I was too young to watch that. And when it came out, and then I've been trying to tap into, I don't know if I want to tap into Grey's Anatomy. I heard that it's a lot of emotional pull. And I recently been obsessed with Bridgerton right now. So with me and my fiance, we've been doing that because he works all day as well.
Mm.
So we're like, no talking, just get
Yeah.
snacks and just watch TV. So to me, that's very unhealthy because I think there's definitely other things we could do. But when on my weekends, though, when there are things that we can do during the day, I take go for walks when the weather's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely try to do a lot more self-care, which is like cleaning my room, my house, and refreshing, restarting for the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that's all done, I sit down, I'm like, it feels great. Yeah, that all of those things are taken care of.
Mm-hmm. You're allowed to do the other decompression. I don't think you have to say it's the bad way. I think all those things are good after a long day. I was actually going to ask you about what you're currently watching, so thank you for
Oh,
beating me
okay.
to the punch. And then the last question is like, what's the essential Hmong food that everyone should try?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's not super crazy,
Uh-huh.
but definitely you just have to eat boiled chicken.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the way we do it is it's fresh killed chicken. So you do not get the chicken that you get at Food Max or Smart Find or whatever grocery store. It's got to be authentic chicken that you get from the backyard,
Oh
and
wow.
you just gotta chop it because it just tastes different. It's really
Mm.
clean, lean, and you gotta boil it with some of these herbs. I do not know what they're called in English.
Uh-huh.
But they feed that to actually to women who just gave birth.
Oh
It's
wow.
rice and chicken is so amazing, and you don't got to be pregnant to eat it, but it's so good, and that to me is home.
Mm.
I know that just recently, this is so funny. Just recently, I haven't eaten that in a while, and I ate that at my mom's house and I cried.
Mm.
Like, that's home to me. And Hmong people, we don't have a dish that's really our own because again, we're a diaspora. We're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We take a lot of influences. And so to me, because we were such more of a like a poorer kind of culture, we definitely boiled a lot. And chicken is a necessity for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love to hear it. What is there like? How is there like a word for it, or is it just boiled chicken?
It's just boiled chicken.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't think when you go to like a Hmong restaurant, they don't have that. They have all
Mm.
like the other Lao foods, like egg rolls, spring rolls, and then you have papaya. But those are just so Lao and Thai styles that
Mm.
we gravitated to. They're not our dishes. And so to me, the most like raw dish is just boiled chicken. Yeah.
Well, I love to hear it. Keeping it nice and simple. Well, Passion, thank you so much for making the time to do this. That's all the questions I have. We're going to make sure to link the Cultural Center and anything else that we could chat about to make sure people have access to it. So thanks so much for the time, and I'll see you in a couple months.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. See you.
Thank you, Passion, for joining the podcast today and talking about the Hmong Cultural Center growing up in Butte County and your mental health journey. I hope people enjoyed this newest episode of the CT podcast. If you did enjoy this episode, you can subscribe to our show for episodes that will probably release every month, and give us a rating review on your favorite podcast platform. If you would like to support our podcast and help us grow, you can do so with a donation to the link at the bottom of the episode description. To hear more about Changing Tides, follow us on Instagram at LTSC_Changing Tides, or check out our website, thechangingtides.org. Let's continue to change the tide on mental health.
We got